من LA كاليفورنيا، وتحديداً من مبنى نازا JPL، موجودة اليوم لمقابلة حصرية مع دكتور شال العشي مدير هالمركز، هالإنسان العظيم اللي بنى الكثير من المشاريع بعلم الفضاء. رح نتعرف عليه أكثر وعلى شخصيته المميزة.
It's a privilege to conduct space exploration on behalf of our nation.
Dr. Shal Achi, thank you for receiving us in JPL. You are the director of JPL. And we know you were born in 1947 in Raya, in the Bekaa. And then you studied in Jouni and Zahle. Tell us more about your childhood in Lebanon.
Well, first, thank you for being here and visiting us, at the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab. Yeah, I was born in Raya. When I was a young kid, I went to a school which was run by the nuns in Raya. It's still in Raya now, and I have very fond memory, from when I was young. It was a beautiful place. I loved the Bekaa Valley. I used to, at night, with a beautiful sky, admire the stars and wonder, about things, who are there people on those stars, how can they be explored? And I remember very clearly when Sputnik was launched in 1958, I listened on the radio and they had the beep which came from Sputnik. So I thought, wow, actually we can go in space. So I was always fascinated.
So you had this interest since your childhood?
Yeah, I mean, interested, as a young kid, you are always curious, and very interested in that. Then I went to Collège des Apôtres in Jouni, where I spent 4 years in a boarding school. And then did my last 2 years with Oriental, Zahle. And then I was fortunate that in the baccalaureate, I got the highest score in Lebanon.
Yeah, you were ranked first.
So I received a fellowship. I remember it was the time of President Charles Hulou was a president in Lebanon. So I went to France to do my engineering degree, spent it at École Polytechnique in Grenoble. And then I decided to continue my PhD, and I came to the United States, to Pasadena, to here.
You did it at Caltech?
That's correct. At the University of Caltech, which is one of the top universities in the United States and in the world. And then here I am. Still 40 years later, I'm still here.
You're still here, but do you visit Lebanon often?
Yeah, typically I go once a year because I'm associated with Lebanese American University on the Board of Trustees.
Yes.
So that's my way of giving back to Lebanon. A little bit, because I love going and talking with students. Last time I was in Lebanon, I was invited to be on the TEDx program, which I thought was kind of neat that in Lebanon, the young people are interested in knowing about science, exploration, literature, poetry, and so on. And it's always refreshing to see young people being excited about that.
Yeah, we know that you have been teaching at Caltech for a long time, from 1981 till 2000. So you have a good relationship with students.
I like doing that because usually young people are the ones who are the most innovative. They don't know what are the limits, what can be done. So,
they are innovative.
So here at JPL, when we do our space missions, we always bring a mix of young people and more experienced people. Because the young people always are thinking about anything is possible. And that's what you need, when you are doing exploration. We bring more experienced people because sometimes, we have to learn from our past mistakes, because things are, what we do is basically, for other people, seem almost impossible. Landing cars on Mars, bringing samples from comets and so on. So it has to be a mix of being very imaginative, but also being somewhat realistic, so you can implement.
Of course. But besides your PhD in engineering, you have also a degree in geology.
Well, that's correct. because after I got my PhD, I'm always a curious kind of person, so I continued even when I was working here.
Yeah.
You know, I got a degree in geology because I love going camping and nature. And then after that, even I got a degree in business administration because in my position, in addition to the science, you know, you need to be, I manage, you know, we have 5,000 people, $1.5 billion budget. So it's like a company, you know, that is working here.
Yeah, I know that you have been working here since 1982.
Correct.
Then, since 2001, you have been appointed as director.
Correct.
What are your new responsibilities while being a director?
Well, as a director, as I said, we have 5,000 scientists and engineers who are probably some of the most imaginative explorers, I call them that. So the role of the director is not really to manage them because they are the smart guys. So it's really more to lay out a vision, get them excited about that vision, you know, and inspired about the vision, and then create an environment, you know, where they can strive. And then I have to deal a fair amount with Washington to make sure the funding, you know, for the mission is being provided, dealing with the broad science community, you know, to make sure, you know, what are the missions we need to explore and conduct. And then once we have these missions, is to make sure they are implemented, you know, successfully.
Do you have Lebanese engineers among your fellows here?
Yeah, there is a number of Lebanese engineers or engineers of Lebanese descent. Matter of fact, up to a few years ago, the chief scientist at JPL, his name was Mustafa Shaheen. Unfortunately, he passed away, you know, since that time. And he also got his education in Lebanon. And he was a lead scientist, you know, here at JPL. We have also an astronomer by name of George Hulou, who heads a center for infrared astronomy. And we have a number of people who are of Lebanese descent, you know, are here. Plus many people of Arab descent, you know, who are also working here.
Here in LA, there are many Lebanese and people from Arab descent.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like everywhere in the United States and in the world.
Yeah, Lebanese are everywhere in the world.
Yeah, indeed. So I wanted to ask you, what's the relationship of NASA, JPL, to the headquarters and to other located...
Yeah, NASA is the agency, is a civilian agency in the United States which does all the space exploration. The headquarters of NASA is in Washington, D.C. But then all the work, you know, of building the spacecraft and so on is at 10 centers which are across the country. Each center is specialized, you know, in certain area. So here at JPL, we do basically all the robotic missions. All the missions that we are sending to the planets, missions which are in Earth's orbit, many of the telescopes that we do for astronomy. And there is another center next to Washington called the Goddard Space Center, which does also some, you know, of the robotic mission. But here we do effectively all the mission which went to the planets. And now we have almost 22 spacecraft, which are across the solar system. We have the Voyager mission, which went through all the major planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. We have an orbiter around Saturn. We have spacecraft which are heading toward comets. We have spacecraft heading toward the asteroids, and Earth orbiting spacecraft, plus one on Mars. You know, we have now 2 rovers on Mars and 2 orbiters. So all of these missions were built here, you know, designed and built here at JPL, working with industry and the different universities in the United States.
It's a lot of work.
Oh yeah, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. You are passionate for what you do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in this business, like any exploration, not only in space, but any exploration you do, you have to be very passionate about what you are doing, or also in your business. I mean, you look like you are very passionate about what you do, and that's very important.
This is important, and
right.
it leads you to success because you love what you do.
Absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely essential to do that.
And because of your hard work, there were an asteroid renamed after your name in recognition of your contribution to planetary exploration. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, first it's named Achi, and that makes my daughter feel good because they can claim the same.
The family name.
That's right. And no, usually what happens in astronomy, when an astronomer discovers a new object, they have the right, particularly asteroids, they have the right to name them. So an astronomer discovered that, you know, it was a woman, so she decided to name it after me for the effort that I was doing, not only as a director, but also all the research that I have done in studying Venus and studying Titan and studying the Earth, which was the kind of scientific research I did before I became the director.
اكتشفنا لهلا انه دكتور شارل العشي ولد برياء سنه 1947 ودرس بجوني وبزحله وسافر على غرينوبل وبعدها على كاليفورنيا ليتخصص بالانجينيرينج بكالتك. درس وايضا دخل على JPL المركز اللي موجوده فيه اليوم سنه 1981. امور مميزه جدا رح نكتشفها اكثر عن دكتور شارل العشي من بعد هالبريك. We know that also last August you did the last mission Mars exploration rover mission.
Correct.
And tell us more about that because it's a big thing.
Event, that's true. No, we have a program, one of our many programs here is to explore Mars to see if there was an environment on Mars which was amenable for life, because Mars is very similar to Earth. You know, it has a solid surface, the geology on Mars is identical, there are volcanoes which are extinct now. Yeah. And we have discovered in previous mission that actually Mars used to have oceans, you know, in the past, but now the oceans are frozen and they are below the surface. So you have water, but it's frozen. So a key question is, if it's similar to Earth and if there were oceans in the past on Mars, could have life just started? You know, cells or organic molecules have developed. Yeah. So we have laid out a program of exploration, so to learn more about Mars and the possibility of, in the future, you know, to send the humans and explore it. So one of our mission was to send a rover about the size of a car, which we landed on August 5th, you know, just last year. And that rover is like a chemistry lab. So it's the same as what you have at the university. We have a number of instruments, you know, on it where we can drill into the rock, take samples, put those samples inside those scientific instruments, and then do chemical analysis, you know, for them. Yeah. But everybody knew it was going to be a very tough mission. So there was a lot of excitement and tension about, you know, landing a car, you know, on another planet. So during that day, while we were landing, there were 50 million Americans connected to our website watching, you know, about the landing as we were getting the data. And then the following day, there was 1.8 billion hits, that's billion with a B, hits on our website worldwide, including from Lebanon.
Of course.
You know, people to see what happened, what is the rover doing, and so on. So it was a very exciting, you know, moment.
And I read that yesterday some drilling
correct. So
on Mars.
So what we do first, after we landed, first we had to test to make sure everything landed safely and so on. And then we drove about 700 meters to a location which seemed to be very interesting. And the science community, after we analyzed it, looking with the cameras and so on, we decided to drill in a specific rock. So that will be done late next week. Okay. So that's the first time we will actually drill, collect the samples, and put them in the instrument to do the analysis for them.
Okay, it's beautiful. And what are the future projects on Mars?
Well, for Mars, shortly after we landed, NASA approved 2 additional missions. Okay. So one will be a mission that we land in 2016. It's a fixed lander, but it will have on it a seismometer. So it's like measuring earthquakes. So we call them Marsquakes. And the reason we are interested in measuring Marsquakes is that's what will tell us about the internal structures of Mars, because the sound waves propagate through the planet. Okay. And by analyzing it, will tell them how big the core is, the crust of the surface, like we do on Earth. That's how we know about internal Earth. Also, they approved another mission in 2020, where we will send a rover similar to Curiosity, the one we landed, but with different instrument. And the idea is to start collecting samples to put them in one location. So in the future, we will send a spacecraft, collect those samples and bring them back to Earth so we can analyze them here. So that's part of our long-term, planning that we are doing.
Yeah, and then do you think there will be any chance for living species on Mars?
Yeah, well, I mean, part of our long-term vision is to be able to send the humans, to go to Mars. So we're doing all this thing in preparation for it, the same way we did for the moon. We send a number of robotic spacecraft first to the moon before we send the human. Yeah. So we think it's possible by the 2030 or 2040, that we'll actually have human which will travel to Mars. And who knows, 100 years from now, we might have colonies, on Mars for all of humanity.
Yeah, and is there any danger on Earth? So you are maybe thinking about moving all the humanity to Mars?
Well, that's not the reason for it. I'm not worried about Earth. I think we'll do fine as long as we stay logical and reasonable and we stop fighting. I think Earth will be fine. But it's all in expanding humanity. I mean, as humans, we're always curious about learning new things. I usually say, if our ancestors were not curious, we still would be sitting in caves. But they were curious, they went out, they explored, they started in Africa, they went to the Middle East, so they were exploring. Here in the US, we explored the West. So as human, we are always curious. We want to explore and know what's beyond, the horizon. So going to Mars and possibly the planets and maybe beyond our solar system is part of us as human, that we are curious to know what's around us.
So there's no fear for planet Earth?
No, I mean, there is clearly concern about what's happening in the environment, about the global warming, putting the pollution. But as I said, I'm always the optimist. I'm always hopeful that people will realize that, this planet is so dear for us. Of course. And we want to make sure we leave good legacy for our children, grandchildren, and so on. Yeah. And sooner or later, we'll start realizing we'd better take better care of it. And I think a number of people are doing that. So part of our mission that we do for Earth, because we have many spacecraft in Earth's orbit, is to really understand what changes is happening on our planet and make sure we explain to our politicians and policymakers and so on, so they understand that we really need to be more careful about polluting, the atmosphere, so we can protect our planet. Yeah. So I'm an optimist. So I think our planet will be there. I'm
happy. It's a good message to all the viewers also. What about the rumors about the first step on the moon and that it didn't happen? And what do you think?
No, I can tell you it did happen.
It did happen.
Yeah, I mean, no question about that. Human went to the moon.
We have rovers. Did step on the moon.
Absolutely.
So it's good for everybody to know that.
We have rovers on Mars. Matter of fact, we will take you later into the mission operation room, and you will see the data coming down from the different spacecraft, coming from the rovers on Mars and the orbiter on Mars. So no, it is true.
So how long did it take to build the rover?
Yeah, typically on most of our space mission, it takes about 8 years from the time we start. And then we take like 3-4 years to actually do the design, verifying that everything is the right combination. And then about 1 year to 2 years to build it, and about 1 year to test it. So typically it's 8 years, but we start thinking about it almost 15 years before. So from now, we're already starting to think about missions that we'll be doing 2025, 2030, because it takes a long time, to do this planning.
Okay, and how many engineers are involved in this rover?
Well, on this rover, at the peak, we had about 1,000 or 1,200 engineers who were working on it. Now, during the operation, it's about like 200 or 250.
Mm-hmm. And it takes 9 months to reach Mars?
Yeah, Mars is 9 months, and Mars is one of the closest planets to us. So when we went, for instance, Cassini, which is around Saturn, it took 7 years, travel. So typically, you think of a mission, and then 25 years later, you're getting the data from it, because by the time you build it, design it, to get there, to collect the data. So we tend to think very much in the long term.
Yeah, and you cannot visit and send the rovers to Mars every time you want. It's just every 2 years once?
Yeah, you are correct. Every 26 months, because the Earth is rotating around the sun, and then Mars is rotating. And we want to have them in the right position to be able to send the spacecraft. So every 26 months, they're aligned pretty good. And so every 26 months we can send a mission, to go to Mars. So the next one we're going to be launching, there is a mission which is in 2014, which is this orbiting spacecraft. Yeah. Then the next one will be in 2016, which is a lander. We are going to skip 2018, and then in 2020 we'll be sending another rover, to go to Mars.
So now you're focusing on Mars, but is there any other planet that you are willing to visit?
Yeah, we're exploring all the planets in the solar system. Mars gets particular attention because we know there was water on it. It has similarity to Earth, so people, potentially, we could travel to it. But we have visited every planet in the solar system. We have visited Mercury and Venus and Mars, of course, and then Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. As we speak, we have a spacecraft around Saturn, which is mapping it. We just finished a space mission which was around the moon. We have a mission which is heading toward Jupiter. And we are in the planning, for doing mission for many of the satellites of Jupiter and Saturn, like Europa and Titan. So these are the missions we'll be doing in the 2020s.
So Mars is the planet where life can be present?
Yeah, that's the most likely. It turned out because Mars had oceans, so we think life could have started. Yeah. But now it's very cold and the oceans are frozen, so probably life doesn't exist today. But there could be signature of previous life. But also we found that Europa, which is an orbiter, which is a satellite of Jupiter, has ocean below the ice shell that's on the surface. So that's why we are planning a mission to Europa to get to those oceans and see if there is life in them. And Enceladus, which is a satellite of Saturn, also we see geysers, which are of hot water, which is being emitted. So that's another area we are planning to explore in the future.
Vehicle reports entry interface. At this time, it will begin pressurizing the propulsion system to increase the thrust of the system. We'll use that for all the maneuvering in the atmosphere we're about to do. It is reporting that we are seeing G's on the order of sky crane has started.
Signal to us, you remain strong.
Touchdown confirmed. We're safe on Mars.
We have just watched now the video about the landing of the rover on Mars. Why did you name it 7 Minutes of Terror?
Well, it's because, as I said, we worked for 8 years on it. It took 9 months to get to Mars. And from the time we entered the atmosphere until the landing, it turned out to be 7 minutes. And that's where everything has to work. The parachute has to open, the heat shield has to deploy, the retro rocket have to fire, the sky crane have to work. We had 76 pyro devices which all have to work in exact sequence. And if only one of them goes wrong, then the whole mission is gone.
Yeah.
So that's why we should call it maybe 7 minutes of nervousness. We were sitting down all nervous that all of this will work perfectly well.
Yeah, knowing also that in 1999 you failed while sending.
Yeah, as I said, these are very challenging missions. It's really doing something that for many people it's impossible. So every once in a while there is a failure. And the key challenge is to learn from those failures, not to shy away from doing things. So anytime you do exploration, failures are going to occur. So the key challenge is to take the attitude and the approach that if failure happens, our first reaction is how do we learn from it? And then how do we move on and keep on going?
Anyways, there was a successful landing and
be successful
and learn out of our mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
دكتور شارل عشي اللي عين سنة 2001 مدير مركز ناسا جي بي ال وحقق إنجازات كتير مهمة، وأخيراً حقق إنجاز هو كان عم بيراقب وكان تحت قيادته هبوط مركبة روفر على مارس. أمور كتير مهمة وبتكتشفوها من بعد هذا الفيديو. Dr. Charles Achi, thank you again for receiving us today in your house in Altarena.
It's my pleasure.
In LA suburbs. It's a great place, and the surroundings are like Lebanon.
Yeah, that's true. That kind of remind me of Lebanon, you know, with the mountains and the green and the trees and so on. So it's very attractive. That's why I like it here.
Yeah, indeed. And you told me that this house was built also by a great writer, Zane Grey, who wrote a lot of movies.
Yeah, that's true. He was a well-known Western, kind of literature writer. He did most of his books in the 1910 to 1930s. And many of his books then became movies, which are basically the cowboy movies, which were done in that period of time.
Yeah. Let us talk about your lovely wife, Valerie. Tell us more how you met her. Was this a love story?
Well, it's interesting. First, we met on a blind date.
Oh.
You know, there was a common friend who arranged for us to get together because she's in a completely different world that I am. She used to produce animation movies. So many of the movies like the Smurfs and so on. So she used to produce those movies. So she was in the movie industry and I was in the science world. So a common friend arranged for a blind date, and we have been together now for more than 35 years.
Oh, and the love story continues.
Well, yeah, of course.
Of course, it develops into other kind of feelings, but
sure,
the basic things are here.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
True.
And she's an American, so she works into the film industry. Is she still working?
No, now she's not working. So most of what she does now is to volunteer for Caltech, the university that we work in, and at JPL. So she does mostly, volunteer work here.
Yeah, and does she cope with your work and your schedules?
You have to ask her for that one. No, it's kind of challenging because I do a lot of travel and, it's commitment. But she has been very supportive and very understanding. She's very excited about, space exploration and so on. So things work pretty well.
Yeah, indeed, because she's interested in everything you do.
True.
Anyways, we are all interested too. So she is your lucky star.
Every day.
She is your lucky star.
My lucky star.
And she's the planet you prefer, you love most, no?
Yeah, she's my favorite star.
She's your favorite star. You have two daughters, Joanna and Lorraine. I know they are beautiful. I just saw their pictures. They are smart. They are talented like you and their mother. Tell us more about you as a father and your relationship towards your daughters.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm fortunate. I have probably two great daughters. They have been really great young kids and now adults. So the older one, Joanna, she is married and she lives in San Francisco. And she has two kids. So I have two grandkids, Charles and Lily. Yeah. They are 2 and 4. And Lauren, she's still at school. So she did her undergraduate at Princeton back east, and now she's at Harvard, the Graduate School of Design. So she's very passionate about having the world all green, so she wanted to design green cities.
Beautiful.
And so on. So, so this was her last year at the university, so we'll see what she will do with her future.
Yeah, and when they were kids, you used to spend some time with them.
Oh, yeah.
Are you close to them, like maybe a father and a friend?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I used to drive them to school every day, so that used to be our chance, you know, in the morning and in the evening to chat together. And we take lots of vacation together. You know, both of them like skiing, and I like skiing, so we used to go skiing together. Matter of fact, just came back a week ago. We were up during the Christmas holidays. You know, with Lauren. Joanna was not here, but Lauren, we went up and did some skiing in the mountains, so it was a great time. Yeah,
beautiful. And did they ever visit Lebanon, and your wife?
Yeah, a while ago. I mean, both our daughters and my wife visited Lebanon about 10 years ago, you know, or 12 years ago. But before that, because of all the trouble, unfortunately, that were in Lebanon, it was very hard to travel.
Yeah.
But they have been a lot in the Middle East. We have done a lot of travel in Egypt. All of them have been to Egypt, to Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Syria, because my mother originally is from Syria, so we still have some family in Damascus. So yeah, they have been all around the world.
All around the world. And how they cope also with the Arabic language, or not much?
No, they don't.
Especially that you don't speak it also
That's right.
much.
Here we don't speak much. But they know a few words like Habibi and Habibti and so on.
The most important one.
The most important one, that's right.
And what about you and your grandchildren? Do you take often the little Charles to JPL?
Well, yeah, I brought him once to JPL, but because they live in San Francisco, so they are not close by. So we see them every couple of months. You know, either they come down here or we go and visit them there. He's very fascinated with dinosaurs and about planets and what happened to the dinosaurs. So there is a little connection there.
Yeah, it all begins here, and maybe later. Right. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Let us talk more about also your hobbies, your other maybe interests. Do you have other interests than your work?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's similar to the exploration. I mean, my wife and I like a lot to do hiking, you know, in the Sierras, in the mountains, and we both like skiing. Both doing downhill skiing and doing hiking in the snow. So we wear snowshoes and we go out in the wilderness, you know, and do camping and hiking and that. So that's our major hobby, sports-wise. And we do a lot of, in the summer, we do a lot of camping. But also we like traveling a lot. So
you do it as in your vacations?
Yeah, we do a lot of exotic travel, like going up in the Andes and going to Western China and the desert, and
discover
so we
other
have been
countries.
to many exotic places that we like to travel with our friends.
You're not keen to any kind of art?
No, not me. I mean, I'm not an artist. My wife is much more artistic, and I'm more of a scientist, very well organized, and so on. She's more of an imaginative.
But do you read? Are you a good reader?
Oh yeah. I mean, particularly when I'm traveling a lot on the plane, I'm always carrying book. I usually like more historic books, you know, about history, be it Middle East or the United States, and about major people who have influenced what happened, you know, in the world. So that's the kind of books that I enjoy in particular.
Yeah. I know that also your daughter, Lorraine, she's an artist, she's a musician.
Yeah, that's true. So she plays the bass. I mean, I remember when she was 10 years old, the school required them to pick an instrument.
Yeah.
So she comes one day and told us, so what did you choose? She said, well, I chose the bass. I told her, Lauren, the bass is that big and you are that small. Why did you pick
a big thing?
So then it was my job to carry the bass, you know, every time, every place
Maybe
she goes.
did it on purpose so you can...
So I can spend more time with her, so
with
that's true. So, no, but she has played in many orchestras. She has been in the Princeton Orchestra, traveled to Europe, you know, with orchestras play. So she does that mostly as a hobby, you know, in addition to her studies.
Yeah. I want you to talk about maybe great moments, great souvenirs you have. What do you recall?
Well, clearly, you know, when my two daughters were born, I mean, that's always, you remember that, and we got married. But also the event that we do in our exploration, you know, when we land on other planets. As you saw probably in the video, the excitement, not only of me, but the whole team that we work with. So it shows.
What do you feel really when you succeed a big
well, it's kind of hard to describe, but it really shows, because it's something which inspires such large population. I mean, that's what I like about what I do, is when we are successful, it's not only 10 of us or 20 of us, it's literally millions of people are cheering for us.
Yeah.
And when we are successful, you have millions of people who are really happy about, and proud about what has been accomplished. So that kind of gives you a certain satisfaction that you are doing something that a broad segment of humanity really appreciate. And that give us more knowledge and improve, at least the intellectual, knowledge of humanity on doing that. So it gives, I'm usually a calm person. So it gives, in a calm way, I find things very uplifting and exciting.
من قدام بيته لدكتور شارل العشي هون ب LA تعرفنا على شارل العشي الزوج اللي انغرم بمدامته الأمريكية وله 35 سنة عايش معها. اكتشفنا أيضاً دكتور شارل العشي الأب اللي عنده بنتين، قدر أكيد يمضي وقت معهم كتير حلو ويعطيهم كتير من المعلومات ويحاورهم أيضاً. والكثير بعد عن دكتور شارل العشي، ولكن من بعد. I would like to talk about you and Lebanon a bit, because today we have a lot of viewers that are Lebanese. Some do know you better than others, but what are your relationships to Lebanon? Today, if you think about Lebanon, what do you feel?
Well, I mean, no question, I'm very proud of being of Lebanese descent. I mean, clearly I'm an American now, so I live here. I love the American society, but I owe Lebanon a lot. I was born there. I got my education in Lebanon. I have still a lot of family and friends in Lebanon. So I do feel proud of being of Lebanese descent, and I do say that all the time. In every time when I have interviews with American media and so on, I always make sure they know that I'm of Lebanese descent, and I read a lot of books still about Lebanon. I have a whole collection of books.
I can see that.
From Lebanon, because it's a beautiful country. I wish it would be more peaceful, and that because there is a lot of potential,
of course,
in Lebanon. So I enjoy when I go visit the Lebanese American University or other universities in Lebanon. I enjoy talking with the young people there, and recently I attended the TEDx. In Beirut, and just seeing the excitement of the young people in Lebanon is something very uplifting.
Yeah.
And I sure hope, that there is a future, and that the young generation see hope, and the older generation helps the younger generation in really accomplishing all their potential. Because I think there is a lot of potential in Lebanon and in the Middle East.
We hope, of course. What is your message today to the new generation? There are many who are really talented, well-educated, and they are leaving Lebanon to seek opportunities overseas. What is your message towards all these young people?
Well, I think we live now in a world where the movement around the world are becoming very easy. So really, first for the young people, I think people just have to do what they are passionate about. it doesn't matter if it's music, art, science, engineering, literature. I think it's very important that, number one, people follow their passion. Number two is that everything is possible. I never thought I'd be doing what I'm doing now when I was a student, in Lebanon. But I worked hard. I was passionate about what I'm doing. I look at opportunities, which allowed me, to achieve. And I think everything is possible. If people put their mind to it, is possible. And the other thing, which I would say for more the older generation in Lebanon, it's how critical and essential to give opportunity to young people. Because any society which educate and nurture its young people is a society which is going to survive in the future and strive in the future.
Of course.
And the society which does not support knowledge and education and people working together are going to the society which are going to fade away. So really it's important that both the young and the more mature, like me, generation, encourage an environment of working together, education, peaceful relationship, respect, for people from different background, different religion, because that's what made the United States such a great country.
You're right.
We have people from all around the world, from all kinds of religion. Nobody asked me about my religion. Nobody asked me about my background. People are who they are.
Yeah,
and they
respect you for what you are,
so they respect
not for what
they
you.
are.
Yeah, it's very true, and this is what we discovered also when we got here in the United States. It was the feeling of respect.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. Today, if you had to, I don't know, to think about something, a nice project to do towards Lebanon and the Lebanese, what would you think about?
That's an interesting question. No, I think, again, is by, like I was saying, I go out of my way usually, any opportunity I have to go to Lebanon, particularly through the education. I think that's where things could have the most impact, is to make sure that the young people feel a hope for the future. So when I was invited to join the Board of Trustees of the Lebanese American University, even that I had no connection, whatsoever. I mean, I didn't even know that the name that I remember when it was Beirut Women for Women.
BUC.
Yeah, that's right. Women College, Beirut Women College. So that I remembered. But Joe Jabra, who was the president of Lebanese American University, was a friend of mine. So he asked me, this is one way of helping Lebanon. If I join the board and help them, in the education. I provided some scholarship for some of the young people, at the university to support, their education. So that's probably one of the things that, I can do or help Lebanon. And hopefully if many of the Lebanese around the world can do something similar.
Of course.
That could help
the education. It's a teamwork. And I hope that all these great personalities we are meeting here in the United States of Lebanese origins will really team together and do something for Lebanon, because we all need to work for a better future.
And here there is an organization called the Lebanese Ladies, and my wife is involved with them, even that she's not Lebanese.
Though she's American.
And they raise funds to provide to poor elementary schools in Lebanon.
Beautiful.
And I thought that was a very nice thing that they are doing to support some of the people who need some support in Lebanon.
Of course. And how do you think about some also governmental efforts?
Yeah, I think those are, these have things to be done between government. There is a lot of support that the United States provide. I know at LAU as well as AUB, there are a number of students which get scholarship from USAID, which is a United States agency. And I met a number of those students in Lebanon who were supported by the US government, and they have been very, very thankful and appreciative of what the American government is doing in helping education in the Middle East.
Anyways, you did a great work, you're still doing a great work to the planet Earth and to the whole solar system. A last question, you liked, really, everybody is watching you in your great events and explorations. Would you like one day to visit yourself one of the planets?
Well, it depends. I like planet Earth very much. When you know the detail about the planets, even that they are very pretty and exotic, but they are very harsh environment. I mean, planet like Venus, it's hotter than the oven. You go to Mars, it's very, very cold. So I like to admire them, you know, the beauty that they have. So I don't have to visit them, but I can see them as very beautiful objects.
So you prefer to observe them from Earth?
Yeah, so I think I like it around Earth.
I would like to end by a very nice saying that you like from Ralph Emerson: "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail."
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing that everybody in exploration does that. Is to explore new things. And not in exploration, even for yourself as an author, you know, when you write, you know, something and you open new windows, so for people to see things in a different way that an author or an artist, you know, can see. So in a sense, and Emerson was a poet, so he did that in a very poetic way, but that's what makes humanity progress, is by opening new trails and opening new doors for everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Shah Achi. Thank you again for this nice conversation. And I wish to see you again very soon in Lebanon.
Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure of having you here.
Thank you. هيك بنكون أنهينا حلقة مميزة عن دكتور شال العشي، وشفنا إنه ما في شيء وقف بدربه ووصل على كل الكواكب، ولكن كوكب الأرض هو اللي كان أهم والأقرب على قلبه. رسالة مهمة، بنعرف إنه ما في شيء بيحقق لنا أحلامنا إلا طموحاتنا. حلقة مميزة وأنا بودعكم من LA.
It is far better to dare mighty things even though we might fail, than to stay in the twilight that knows neither victory nor defeat.
Si vous souhaitez revoir cette émission et pour plus d'infos, visitez notre site internet www.mtv.com.lb.